What is something you strongly believe in but don't have evidence for? My grandpa had a second family. I never knew him as he died before I was born. But my mom would talk about how he'd occasionally disappear for up to a month at a time, and my grandma never once asked why, because he said it wasn't her business. This was like the 50s and 60s. My mom told me that she'd occasionally have this dream where he had a second family, and I think it's because deep down she suspected it. Do an ancestry DNA test and see if you have unexpected cousins. Better still, have your mother do one. If you don't know where to start, check out the DNA Detectives Facebook group. If your grandpa did in fact have a second family, their descendants could already be looking for you. Discoveries like that are becoming more frequent. That the Tasmanian tiger is not extinct. Great swathes of Tasmania are largely uninhabited and still heavily forested. People wander a few meters off a track and are never seen again, so dense is the bush. So my old romantic heart hopes that tigers are still out there. My wife's cousin's husband is an undercover CIA agent. Everyone is delusional. Some people just to a higher degree. I had an identical twin who never made it to be visible on ultrasounds. There's no evidence. Just the subjective experience of the hole in the world where someone isn't. I'm convinced that the myth of dragons in the Middle Ages originates from early findings of dinosaur fossils. It simply seems like a logical explanation to me, but I have not the slightest evidence for this theory. That makes sense. It also makes sense why a variety of cultures have their own versions of dragons and dragon mythologies. I'd imagine dinosaur fossils can be found in lots of places. Another idea was that people hate snakes, so if we combine big dinosaur bones with a hate for snakes we got dragons. In Finnish dragon is lohikarm, lohi equals salmon and karm equals snake, so basically salmon snake. Didn't know I needed to know this, but now I'm gonna call all dragons salmon snakes from now on. Being a good person is worth the trouble. Other intelligent life exists, but is too far away to interact with us ever. I feel similar. But instead of just being too far away, I just feel like we use different communication methods. In my mind it's like me trying to call your cell phone from a CB radio. We can be right next door and I'd never get to talk to you or know you were there, along with a few other ideas like maybe they exist at a different frequency type thing, like we're trying to look at a silicone life form in ultraviolet light. There's aliens out there. Here's millions of galaxies. Planet and we only discovered one and not even fully, with the oceans being 10% or something. Even if we are the only ones, super unlikely, that would be even scarier if it's just us. I wouldn't doubt advanced aliens would avoid the ghetto planet or be able to disguise perfectly as a human, and human eyes are limited. There could be layers of life forms that isn't visible to our eyes. At U.S. universities lie about their graduation rates, the percentage of students that actually finish and graduate with a degree. Some of the schools I went to don't have to lie, since they give you the degree practically regardless of how terrible you are doing. I remember being told when I was at 6th form that in the UK it's the same. Getting a degree is super easy. The difficult bit is getting a good degree. The first is fab. The 2-1 is good, but a 2-2 is already pretty meh. The third is pretty shocking, and my uni had a very narrow margin below a third, where you could still graduate and get your degree. I don't even know what they called it. But yeah, in any given module you only needed to get 35% of the marks to pass, so assuming you've been to at least some lectures you should manage to graduate. Also from UK. I think you can essentially fail and still get a degree. Although it's not classed as an honours degree. In Scotland a degree is 4 years. And your final year is toughest and is your honours year. If you pass 3rd year but fail 4th you can leave with an ordinary degree diploma but not honours. In most fields. A non-honours degree is not looked upon as a full degree in reality though. Not sure about England. Though. I believe that every single person in existence is capable of doing unspeakable things, even if they don't know it themselves, and even if they never actually do. On the flip side, I think that every single person has the potential for incredible artistry invention, but the talent is never uncovered because we are all stuck in a late-stage capitalist nightmare and have to commit nearly all of our time to increasing profits for faceless corporations just to survive. But the talent is never uncovered because we are all stuck in a post-capitalist nightmare and have to commit nearly all of our time to increasing profits for faceless corporations just to survive. I am, somehow, less interested in the weight and convolutions of Einstein's brain than in the near certainty that people of equal talent have lived and died in cotton fields and sweatshops. Stephen Jay Gould. I think about this sometimes. 2. How much further would we have progressed by now if every single person in society had been enfranchised and included from the beginning? What if every small town had a good school and no church? From the Middle Ages on we could either already be extinct or have flying cars. Ticketmaster serves as a front for musicians to charge you exorbitant prices for their shows. Musicians get to blame Ticketmaster for the high ticket prices, while the musicians face no ill will from the fans. Campbell's chunky brand soups and stews are really just dog food with extra spices. But the admin assistant in my department isn't actually incompetent or mean. But they're mistakes. Refusals to help us. Frequent half days. And yelling are an attempt to be fired, to collect unemployment. I constantly feel like I'm in a Saw movie when working with them. They want to play a game that I can't figure out how to win, nor did I consent to. Sometimes they are nice, but I wonder if it's a momentary lapse in sticking to the plan. Haha. There's a secret tunnel in the dryer where that one sock goes. I like to think aliens are real. Although there is no solid evidence for this, I still think there is something out there, even a microorganism, because we can't be alone in this universe. What's crazy is if we aren't alone, both of those are equally as terrifying. As far as modern science is concerned, it would be a statistical anomaly for Earth to be the only place where there is life. I like to think some of that extraterrestrial life out there is intelligent, but I don't think aliens could visit us. Yeah, the chances are tiny. There's apparently about 10 billion stars in the average galaxy, and there's about 2 trillion galaxies in the observable universe. Even if we're the only life in this galaxy, it seems impossible that there isn't life in some of the other galaxies. Every time I think about how tiny we are compared to the rest of the universe, our daily problems and conflicts just doesn't matter anymore. That's only the observable universe too. I believe many organizations founded on ideas of love and peace eventually become led by narrow-minded extremists. Not only that, but I believe the organizations that take shape to undo that damage follow the same path to be led by such extremists, creating a nearly unending war on love and peace. Luck. My view is that it's a sort of sixth sense. Our brains can tap into it, but we don't have tech able to measure it. That mushrooms are fully conscious. They help forests. They can communicate. They take over bugs' brains and have them walk to a place the fungus wants and then kill it. They are older than any other plant's animals. And not to mention the insane effects of psilocybin. There are clones. Specifically human clones, alive right now. But the advances we made in that field in the 90s with Dolly the sheep and all that stuff, there's no way that some group of people didn't take it a step further and create a clone human. I believe it. They have been cloning people's dead pets for years. You can't tell me someone somewhere hasn't cloned a dead child. Had I known this at 13, I would have begged my dad to have my dog cloned. It's really expensive. Really, fuck it, give me a pile of money and I'll have a fucking go. Hardly like I could kill it again. People are generally doing the best that they can. There is some reality that intersects with ours in very specific spots at random times. Sometimes it takes matter. Sometimes it leaves matter. Where did this trash come from? Where did my socks go? It's gotta be another dimension or something. I bought my boyfriend a Funko Pop when he was living in Vegas. When he moved in with me. In Alaska. I remember unpacking it from his suitcase because I commented on it. And we were sad the gun got bent in transit. A month later we couldn't find it. Searched high and low. I thought I was going crazy. Replayed the memory in my head, but he stated it out loud, only confirming it more. We found it 8 months later. In Vegas. In the bottom of a box in his old closet. Same bent gun. How it traveled thousands of miles. No clue. We both vividly remember having it. But our brain and body is in a symbiotic relationship with something else. That's why we talk to ourselves in our heads, even though we should technically know what we're thinking anyway. Bigfoot. Here is why. Point number 12,006. My then Phil tells me a story about when he was young. He lived in the woods in the Ozark Mountains in Arkansas, and he and his brother had been kicked out of their house by their dad. Phil at the time was 14, so around 1971. They lived in the woods being secretly fed by their mother for 3 years. At night, they slept in trees. One night his brother woke him up and pointed down. There were weird tall people under the tree talking in some weird language he couldn't understand. One of them was covered with white hair. He said they were the wild men. He didn't claim it was Bigfoot. He repeated the sounds he had heard them making. It was weird. Point number 2, 2009-ish. I'm watching a show on some stupid cable network about Bigfoot out of boredom. One of the people on the show said they talk or chatter and made the same exact sounds. Point number 3, okay, so I get a bit freaked out and go to the internet. I look at the Patterson-Gimlin film. That F-King thing has boobs. Who would have ever thought to make a Bigfoot costume female? Especially in like 1957, or whatever. Plus they still can't make a costume that is so convincing. Les Stroud spent $10K on one including fake feet with lines, and it didn't fool anyone. I believe in Bigfoot, and I honestly hate that I do. I can't go in the woods anymore. The language of the brain is the next major health breakthrough. The placebo effect shows how damn powerful it is. Imagine being able to override the stupid shit the brain tells the body to do. Depression. Chemical imbalances making you feel sad. Fuck that. We ain't feeling that for no reason. Allergies? Fuck that. Brain stop initiating swelling. I really think we have more control over the body through mental prowess than we want to believe. It just gets caught up in woo-woo crap. At most Reddit mods are power-hungry losers with low self-esteem. I know my dogs secretly talk when I'm not listening, you just know they do. Something I noticed, but don't have any proof of, is that men have 3 consecutive days from time to time where they'll be in a bad mood for no reason. There is a big debate on whether males experience PMS-like symptoms on a monthly or so cycle. I 100% get mild acne, short-tempered, and more emotionally sensitive around the first week of every month, and I never noticed it until I hit my 30s and the pattern started sinking in. My wife and best friend, female, both cycle during that time, too. So it's definitely interesting. I 100% have a monthly cycle, and it affects a bunch of shit which makes it easy to track. My appetite, my libido, my energy level, motivation, productivity level, my sleep requirements, my depression, anger, anxiety. All that shit goes through swings throughout the month. But the extreme ends of those things lasting about a week.